Hi, this is Ben. I'm the owner and fabricator of Weezer River Fabrication. We're going to be starting a series here on doing installs of some of our various products, and we're starting today with helmet shields. So here's a completed, ready to install helmet shield, and here's one I just cut out. It's yet to be powder coated. I'm just going to go over the process on how to get this lined up properly and then drilled to fit on your helmet. Both of these helmet shields are what I call the Cairns spacing, and it's a traditional helmet shield. And all that means is the width matches Cairns or a Paul Conway, Ben 2, etc. helmet, both leather and composite. The alternate is we also sell the Phoenix spacing, and Phoenix helmets have a slightly wider bolt pattern on the front of the helmet, and a Cairns shield won't fit. This shield will fit every traditional composite or leather helmet except for the Phoenix helmet. So if you have a Phoenix TC1 or Phoenix TL2, you'll just need to order the Phoenix spacing, and the shield will be slightly wider and it'll fit the bolt pattern on your helmet. So we'll get started here. So for starters, all of our helmet shields come pre-bent to fit on some of our test helmets. We have a couple traditional test helmets here. This is a Paul Conway, this is a Cairns 1010, and then they're matched to a completed shield to make sure that the profile matches. Now these will all be really close. Any final adjustments or tuning that need to take place can be done on the helmet once you receive it. And typically once you mark your bolt holes, you drill them out and then you cinch the shield down, it fits to your helmet really nicely. But any minor fitment, you can just give a little tweak. But these are all already preset to fit your helmet. The reason we leave these undrilled is there are minor variances in some of the helmets. And if we were to pre-drill them and then they don't fit your helmet, then you're stuck with a second set of holes and it could mess up the look of your shield. So we leave it up to you, much like any of the leather helmet shields out there, to drill it yourself. In this case, instead of punching it out, you're just going to be using a metal cutting drill bit. So for starters here, we're going to look at the Cairns 1010. You can see this shield holder receives a screw. So it has holes on this end and it's completely removable with a Phillips screwdriver. So for starters, we'll mock the shield up on the helmet. So the way we want to fit this in is we want it to be centered on the eagle, and then there'd be just typically a slight bit of space between the shield and the brim of the helmet. And then the other thing we can look at is the side-to-side spacing of the holes. And when you're looking at the shield from the top, you can see that bracket really nicely, and you can see how the shield fits into the eagle. While you're doing this for your helmet, you may want to look at your eagle and make sure that it's not bent out of shape. These are pretty easy to reform and get it where you want it and get a good idea of how you like to see this shield. What I like to do next is take a marking pen with a fine point and just outline the bracket onto the back of the shield. That way, once we remove everything, we can line it back up and mark the holes. So I'm going to do that now. So I've set the shield nice and tight up into my eagle here. I've centered it side to side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the back side, the inside line, and just to ease your worries, any of these marking pens can be removed with an alcohol wipe. So once you've completed your drilling, your install, you can wipe all these marks off. So I marked it. That marks the arc of this part of the shield holder, giving us that angle. That'll give us where we need to line this up. So now I'm going to pull the shield holder off of this helmet. There's two Phillips head screws through the bottom. There's a chance that it's not a Phillips head and it's a different piece of hardware, but this is one of the most common shield holder types on a Cairns helmet. So this should work through the eras of this style helmet. There you go, the shield holder comes right off. You can see the curve, how it fits onto the helmet, and because it bolts down to the front brim of the helmet, you know it's going to fit tight to the bottom of the helmet. That also kind of helps with visualizing the alignment here. Now I'll take the shield holder and I'm going to align it on the back of the helmet. And as you can see, it's really easy to line back up on these marks we made. Like so. And the other thing you'll notice, once I line these up, if you look right at the bottom of the shield, you can just see the edge of the shield holder sticking out, and that's that reveal on the bottom of the brim. So what I'll do, this is a pretty fine hole. You'll need some sort of marking device. So I've got a variety of options here. I've got a felt marker with a semi-fine point. Got a punch, and then this is a scratch awl. And I think for this shield holder, I'm going to test and see that scratch awl should fit all the way through. And you can see, yep, the scratch awl can go all the way through the hole. So what I can do is line this up on the shield where I like it. Reach through the hole and mark my holes. I've got two fine little marks, and then I'm going to highlight them with the marker just so I don't lose them. And then I can double check now because I can see through the holes if I got a little bit of light. Make sure everything lines up the way I like it. Any adjustments can be made here now, but I like it where both of these have lined up. So before I go to drill the hole, I'm going to want to hit these with a center punch. And the last thing we got to do is just compare our hardware size to a drill bit and drill out to match our hardware. I'll show you the hardware for this helmet now. So this is the hardware that holds this helmet shield on. It's just a Phillips head screw. We can see this is a completed shield. This is drilled out for my work helmet, a different helmet. But the important thing that we just have to decide is the diameter of the hole that we need to drill. And it looks like an 1/8 inch drill bit would be perfect for this one. You'll just need to measure or compare your screws to your drill bits. Drill both these holes out. If there's any really fine burrs, I wouldn't even worry about it because this screw head will cover anything like that. And then if there's any larger burrs, a small file can take them off. But everything should be covered by the hardware itself, whether it's an acorn nut or a screw. And I'll show you what that'll look like on this completed shield. This one's been drilled out. So you see the two holes. And once these screws are threaded in, you can see how the screw can cover up any small burrs or anything like that. So once your helmet shield has been gotten to this state, it's been drilled out. Again, we look back. Yep, this shield holder lines up perfectly. We'll reinstall our base plate. So the bracket is back on the helmet. I'm going to use my completed shield. I'm going to fit it up into here. Line up my screws. And this is where having a plastic mounting bracket and a slightly flexible helmet shield will work. Any little tweaks you need to give it, again, just a light force, and you can get this helmet shield. Once you have the screw started, this helmet shield will just work its way right on. And there we go. That's a completed install on a Cairns 1010. Don't overthink it. It's not super critical, the alignment. Everything is pretty flexible on these helmets. The big thing is getting that shield aligned where the point of the shield fits nicely into the eagle and you're not bumping into the brim down here. If you force it too tight to the brim, sometimes you can have fitment troubles. It's not the end of the world if you need to slightly oversize the holes that we can get it aligned. These screw heads will cover up. The other thing to note is what a good opportunity to get some painted screw heads or finished differently. That way they fit in and match nicely with your helmet shield. And again, that's something you'll do on your own to make sure it's going to fit properly within your helmet shield mounting bracket. Okay, so now we're going to show that same install, but on the Paul Conway style helmet. And the difference being this has pre-mounted studs. This is also a riveted bracket, so without drilling these rivets out and replacing them with screws, you'll just have to make the install with this bracket left on the helmet. This is not the end of the world. Two options here to consider. One option is if you have an existing helmet shield that fits the way you like it, and you want to fit this helmet shield up to your metal helmet shield and mark through the holes. That's totally doable, right? You can flatten that helmet shield in a little bit. You can mark through, mark those. Again, highlight them with the marking pen, drill them, and that should slip right over. The other option that I would lean towards myself is, again, fitting that shield in the way I like it into the helmet. If we look at it from this angle from the top, you can see how those studs will hit the shield, and you can mark those from the top here. I have the helmet shield centered up in the eagle, as well as side to side on my studs. I'm going to take my marking pen, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to mark right where that stud hits the shield, directly on top of the stud. So I know, as I remove this, that my point, see my two marks, mark 1, mark 2, is centered just below those. And I could use my center punch, snap those holes, we'll drill it out. This shield was drilled to fit that 10-10, so I don't believe this will line up. But as an example, we would slip it over, and then this uses acorn nuts. And again, those will cover any potential burrs or anything on the metal. If you have a different style shield holder that doesn't line up like any of these, I recommend taking an existing leather shield and marking on the back side of your new helmet shield for the holes to drill it. Otherwise, feel free to message us on any of the social medias, message us through our website, or give us a call, and we'd be happy to help you out getting this shield to mount on your helmet. This has been Installs in the Shop with Ben. Take care.